Reading with your kids.
Hey, so great to see you. Come on in. Hi, my name is Jedley, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We are coming to you from the beautiful neighborhood of Reedville in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. We are so happy that you're part of our beautiful Reading with Your Kids family. Please be sure to subscribe to the show on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Podchaser, wherever you find your podcast. Our guest today is Diane Scaballoni. She is the author of My Friendship with Doubt. We're really excited to have Diane here. We're also really excited to let you know that our new podcast project, Solve It for Kids, with our Dean of all things STEM and STEAM, Jennifer Swanson, is a hit. Our first episode that featured an interview with marine biologist and aquanaut Brian Helmuth, Dr. Brian Helmuth, was a huge hit, and we have more coming. Our next episode is going to feature an interview with my friend, the First Lady of Magic in Australia, Sue Ann Webster, as we solve the problem of how do you cut a person in half safely. That's the next episode of Solve It for Kids, and you can listen to it here, a sneak preview of this great new podcast here on the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Joining us right now from the beautiful city of Pittsburgh in Pennsylvania. She is the author of two great books, My Friendship with Doubt and Rules Don't Measure. I can't wait to talk with Diane Scaballoni. Diane, how are you?
I'm great, Jed. I'm great. So happy to be here. Hope you're doing great, too. Sounds like it.
I am. Yes. We're doing the best we can. It's a challenging time for the world. This has never happened before. Most of the world is locked down, working together to flatten the curve and to deal with the COVID-19 virus. And one of the ways so many families are spending time together is through reading. But in addition to the virus that we're fighting, a lot of families are fighting, depression and doubt and a lot of worry being locked up, being in this situation. How are things? How is the feelings down in Pittsburgh? Is it the same kind of uneasiness that I feel in a lot of parts of Boston?
Yeah. It's interesting. There's just so much juggling. I mean, I'm a mortgage banker also, so, and the banks are essential, and so I'm working and I'm talking to a lot of customers, and it's just a whole interesting dynamic because most people are working from home, and so then they have their kids there, and so now it's not considered unprofessional. Like, all the dynamics are changing because it's not considered unprofessional if a dog's barking or if a kid's like, mommy. Uh-huh. So I just think it's a lot of stress or being added on, it's just more on people's plates, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I guess, too, it's not considered unprofessional to show up at a Zoom meeting in your jammies. I don't.
Well, hey, I think it's fine, too. As long as the top is good, you're fine. Just don't ever stand up in the middle of it.
Well, I'm really intrigued by the titles of your books. Why don't we start with My Friendship with Doubt? What's this book all about?
Oh, yeah. It's so interesting to me. Let me start from the beginning in terms of this. I feel very divinely guided through these books. I feel like, God, universe, Holy Spirit, whatever you want to call it, just kind of took my hand, took my soul, and just said, this is what we're doing. And, so it's interesting because doubt is, in the book, is a cloud. And we have a conversation and a relationship, a friendship with doubt through the book. This young girl goes through this experience because she's not quite sure how to handle things in life. And so doubt is there to protect her and, help her sort of maneuver through life because she's really not sure on how to handle things. And, I consider this to be sort of an autobiography of sorts. It's been my own personal journey. And growing up in a very dysfunctional, alcoholic, you name it, abusive family, doubt was front and center, not just for me, but for my, it's a generational thing, right? So, doubt was how I maneuvered. And in the book, it starts out with, we're all given creatively, we're all given sort of like a treasure chest as we come down to earth from heaven. And in my treasure chest were certain gifts like strength, wonder, love, joy. And so as I experienced life, those things were not really openly accepted by some people. And so therefore doubt would come in and say, oh, no, you can't show up strong here because you're not allowed. It's not safe. Or, you get that giddy feeling as a kid, like you just are like, want to squeal and you're having such a great day. But in certain environments, nobody wants that. So you stifle it, and then doubt would come and protect. And so that's, so it really was a friendship. But the way the story progresses is as the young girl matures, she realizes that doubt is really not so much needed in her life as she notices other people that are experiencing and showing strength, that are showing joy, that are, like showing up in life. And she's like, hey, wait a minute. Maybe doubt's not my best friend anymore. Maybe I need to grasp onto hope. And that's kind of how not to be an end killer of the story, but, it takes you on a journey of just, really it's a mindset experience. And, so I feel like right now the message of recognizing that hope is, doubt is there, and it's kind of like a cloud. It's a thought, it flows through. And then really recognizing let's just connect to hope. And, we're coming out of this virus. We're seeing things that, the way people are coming together just blows my mind at different, food banks and donations. And so really there is hope. So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
That's interesting. I was very intrigued that you kind of cast doubt as a friend, and I would never have made that connection. However, as you were speaking, as I was looking back on my own life, there were certainly times when I embraced doubt as a friend. Certainly when I was transitioning from working in human services and was divinely led to the stage and along my way telling folks, yes, I'm going to be a professional clown and a magician. And people would like, what? And so a lot of times that doubt was there because it was like, okay, I'm probably not going to make this happen. And that's okay. But you do, it is important for us too. And it really is a life-changing moment when you kind of realize that doubt isn't your best friend, and that hope can be your best friend, and really is a much better friend than doubt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
for sure. But it's good. I feel like having the friendship with doubt just gives permission for kids to have, the quote unquote negative feelings. It's just part of life, and to see it and to recognize it, because there's certain things that happen in families and in life. When someone's depressed, that right away someone's like, oh, snap out of it. Come on, get out of that. No. Sometimes you just need to sort of feel into that so that then you can then come out to the other side.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I love that you mentioned that you're seeing so much hope as we're coming out of, hopefully soon, coming out of the quarantine. And you reminded me, my daughter has a very, very close friend who just recently relocated to the Pittsburgh area as a nurse and has been working on the front lines, just exhausted. And she just told my daughter when she received the stimulus from the government, she decided to donate it and to share. So there's so many stories like that of people giving of themselves, and just and we think of the front line, the doctors, the nurses, the first responders, even the folks serving us in supermarkets. They're already making this tremendous sacrifice, and then many of them are just going beyond that, and that really is such a wonderful gift to us.
Absolutely. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Rules don't measure. I'm really interested to know about this.
Yes. Rulers don't measure.
Rulers don't measure. Okay.
One of my, I guess you could say, again, coping mechanisms, you can call it. And as I've been going on my spiritual journey of really digging deep into, how I've been created so that my gifts and my light can really shine. So recognizing through doing a lot of journaling, which is how the books came about, recognizing one of my coping mechanisms has been to compare myself. And so because growing up in a less than ideal situation, I knew that, coming home drunk and beating up your spouse and kids is not normal. Okay. So, but I really didn't know what was. So the way that I adjusted was I watched what other people did. And I said, okay, I'm going to put that in my bag of tricks. I'm going to put that in my bag of tricks. And I would compare. But then what ends up happening is a coping mechanism taken to the extreme can, have a detrimental impact. So I found, as I became a young adult, I was comparing myself to everybody and everything, thereby pushing myself down, telling myself that I'm not good enough. And that was where, and again, just divinely guided. I love the artwork and that my artist came up with on the book. I mean, it's a little measuring stick with little red boots. I mean, how adorable. It's just so creative. But the little measuring stick, he just walks around and he compares himself to other people, and kind of the mantra that, I can relate with, and people I know, grown and young, can relate with this. He said the mantra was, compared to her or compared to him, I am less. I don't measure up. And so our words that we tell ourselves are so incredibly powerful. And again, the story begins where the little measuring stick is, getting ready to be launched into life and into the world. And he is told that you are my beloved child. Always know that you are very blessed. And, he wasn't told that you're less than. He was told that he was blessed. And so once he comes upon himself and sits under a tree and is like, hey, life ain't going quite right here. I don't like how I'm feeling about this, comparing myself. And then he has the realization that I am blessed and I am loved. So then he tries that on and walks around on his journey, meeting up with the same people, and instead tells himself in his conversations, in his mental mind, is like, I am blessed and I am loved. And then he's able to open himself up to his relationships and just says, hey, you know what? In the end, I am ruler. And, I'm blessed beyond measure. And, so that's, again, words are so important. And in the book, he begins to say, I am strong. I am a good friend. And the message to the kids here is just to know I am. And what we finish with that I am is so important.
I'm fascinated. First off, I really appreciate your willingness to be so open about how you grew up. there are so many people who grow up in similar situations who take that, those images of seeing a parent come home intoxicated and abusing other family members, maybe abusing them, and it just turns into poison. And they live their lives in anger and sadness and just repeating the cycle, and end up abusing and victimizing their families. What was it that helped you feel that blessing, helped you feel the love where so many people aren't able to come out of that feeling loved?
Boy, that's a really good question. First, I just feel that I'm fortunate. I'm blessed. And I think it was these tools really of, hunkering down and recognizing at a very small, young age, I would tell myself, this isn't normal. There's something better. I can't wait till I'm 18. Like that was huge. And I knew that there were certain people that looked out for me that I kind of clung on to, teachers in school, certain friends and relationships. So, and I feel like inside, there's a spirit that we all have. That inside, inner child, so to speak, is scrappy. And I feel like that scrappy piece inside would not be defeated. And I'm just so grateful for that. That's the only way I can think of, feeling blessed and know that scrappy spirit was like, there's more to life than what this is. This is going to be over soon.
And wow, what an important, and it's wonderful that you as a child and when you're saying this is going to be over soon and you couldn't wait until you're 18, I'm imagining you were probably having those conversations with yourself when you're maybe 10 or 12 or 13 years old. So soon was a relative term. It was 6 or 7 years from now.
Exactly.
Right now, we're talking to people about, this quarantine is going to end soon, and we're talking maybe months. But people aren't able to kind of be comforted with that knowledge the same way you were able to comfort yourself, even though you were looking at a much longer soon or wait. What are you hoping that families? I guess what kind of conversations do you think families can have together as they're reading My Friendship Without and Rulers Don't Measure?
Yeah, I think it's a great opportunity, like you were saying, like opening yourself up and being vulnerable. And it just the feedback that I've received from people that have read my book so far. I have 5-year-olds that, say this is my favorite book, and they read it all the time, and they take it to school to share with their friends and, on reading day. And then I've had like a 75-year-old man say, hey, this book, I read it 3 times and it touched me. Thank you so much. And so I think it gets to the heartstrings. So what I'm imagining and hoping is it's bringing families together so that even grown-ups can be like, hey, you know what? I remember when I had this situation when I felt doubt or where I compared myself, and this was a big impact for me. And then to like have open dialogue so that the kids can feel safe to say, you know what, yeah, I'm kind of glad I'm not going to school because so-and-so is picking on me. Mm-hmm. So like what a fabulous opportunity to have these conversations that maybe you wouldn't have had before. So that's definitely one of my hopes. And even imagining to place these books in a little person that was a me at 10 or 12 that might be in this environment right now, like we're talking about, that can hold on to these and tap into their, higher power, their spiritual self, and be like, okay, I know it's a bad day right now. I'm going to go into the quietness of my room and be with Hope.
So important. And I love that message of helping our kids understand that they are loved, that they were created for something beautiful.
Yep.
That is certainly a message that I try to remind myself.
Yes.
And also something I shared with my kids as they were growing up. You know, I guess, you know, a kind of typical question, you know, that kind of popped in my mind early on is, how did a mortgage banker end up becoming a children's author? But another kind of question has come up in my head, and I'm wondering how being a children's author and working through this message and doing the work to bring this message to the page to share with children, how has that affected your work as a mortgage banker, or has it?
Oh, wow. That's a good question. It definitely has. It's making me, I mean, I have a psychology and sociology degree, so I've always been intrigued with personal growth and personal development, but it's just helping me to, you know, when you're dealing with someone getting a mortgage, it's definitely a heightened sense of emotion. You know, they're excited, they're nervous they're going to get approved, they have lots and lots of questions. So I feel like I'm tapping into like their heart center, which is, you know, just creates a stronger relationship and a sense of, you know, hey, this person gets me, they're going to take care of me. You know, my mortgage person, she, you know, it's not just a paycheck for her. She cares about me and my family. And so it's been a very interesting dynamic of like the, you know, I get customers from being a children's author, and I get, you know, people liking my books because I'm a mortgage person. It's, who knew? It's just been really, it's been really flowy. I love it.
Well, I mean, and that's, I'm happy you said that, and that whole identity, you know, we hear, and it's kind of controversial, and some folks see, you know, people say, well, gender is fluid, and some days I feel this way, and some days I feel that way. But certainly in our own lives, I think it's very hard to kind of, you know, I know that all my time as a magician and being on stage, it affects the way I present podcasts. And I know the fact that I was in human services and worked as a social worker, it definitely affected the way I performed on stage. And I'm happy you were able to just kind of acknowledge that we are many different things in all the different aspects of our lives. If we allow it to, you know, affect other parts of our lives, I think it can really be helpful.
Right. It's so true. Like you think you have to define yourself like in a certain way, and then, and I feel like with this whole pandemic, we're everybody's sort of breaking out of the box. You know, even businesses are realizing, you know what, it's people are fine working from home, and so I think it's all changing. And so, you know, I think I need to be like, you know, Susie Banker and be all buttoned up and not talk about feelings because I'm a banker. Mm-hmm. No, I'm allowed to show up as totally me. Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm hoping that what we're going to see, this transformation of people just getting more rooted in who they really are and shedding their light, you know? Yeah. I think it's awesome.
Yeah. And I love the fact too that we're getting to the point, you know, for me, you know, when I decided to get into the performing arts, it really blew people away because it just wasn't in my character. I was a jock in high school, you know, and I went to high school at a time where if you played sports, you didn't do the musical and you didn't do this and you didn't do that. And now it's great. Now the kids are living in a time where it's like, hey, you like to play football. It's okay for you to be in the school musical and to be a musician and to do these other creative things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's beautiful.
What's next for you, Diane? Is there another book, another 3 or 4 books, more challenges?
Yeah, I really do feel that there's definitely a book in the works, another one. And I'm just slowly just allowing it to evolve. I just sit in a quiet space and get connected and just, and just write. It's not quite ready yet, but it's percolating for sure. And I've been doing more and more things like this. I've been doing some speaking. I've been doing, facilitating some like workshops and even just using my books as the premise, so, what are your gifts and how do you really embrace them and how do you want to shine them with the world? And, so things are evolving. I don't know. I have a good feeling though how this is all coming together. So.
Well, we're really excited for you. Let everybody know where they can connect with you online.
Yeah, I have a website that's my name. It's DianeScaballoni.com. And I also have a Facebook page, Diane Scaballoni, Inspirational Author. I have an Instagram page. It's, just reach out. I'm happy to do these kinds of things, workshops, podcasts. Books are available on Amazon. And yeah.
Great. Well, we've had a great time speaking with the author of My Friendship with Doubt and Rulers Don't Measure, Diane Scaballoni. Diane, thanks so much for being part of the show.
Thank you so much. That has been an awesome pleasure, and I'm so grateful for what you're doing. It's beautiful. Just lovely.
Please be sure to join us for the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Our guest will be Sue Ann Webster. That's right. It's another sneak preview of Solve It for Kids coming to you on the next episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We are so excited about this new podcast. Our Dean of all things STEM and STEAM, Jennifer Swanson, and I look into the world of scientists, engineers, artists, and talk to them about how they solve problems using creativity, imagination, cooperation, and a little bit of courage, too. It's really, really fun, and we think that you and your kids are going to love it. That's right. This podcast is for families, the kids and parents can listen to together. So be sure to join us the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Want to thank the folks who made today's show so very wonderful. Of course, we want to thank our guest, Diane Scaballoni. I also want to thank my incredible team, Fatima Khan, my amazing producer, Peggy Cotto, my awesome author ambassador, my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me, and of course we want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today, and as always, thank you so very much for taking the time to make the world a better place. And you do that every time you read with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.